Hi, everybody. This is Maxine Taylor, and I have the December 2021 forecast for the United States. It's a very interesting forecast, and I hope you enjoy it. Let me make a quick announcement before I leap in. Many of you have asked me if I was going to offer a special at the end of the year. Well, I already have. It's up on my website, MaxineTaylor.com. I'm offering a birth chart and two forecasts, a birth chart, a 6-month forecast, or a 12-month forecast. You can take either one of those that you would like. They are all offered at reduced prices. I'm also offering my life mission session. Everybody has a life mission, and the people I know really want to know what theirs is so they can live it at their highest and best level. I'm offering a discounted price for your life session, and I do it on Zoom, face-to-face with you. So you get to talk directly with me. And this is what a lot of you have asked me to do, of course. Then I am offering a wonderful special on my Take Back Your Life session. It is a 3-hour face-to-face Zoom meeting in which I take you step by step through your programming so that you can see the story of your life. I've had people tell me it has just blown them out of the frame. It has changed their lives. So, MaxineTaylor.com. Okay, now let's take a look at the United States chart. This is very, very interesting. First of all, the sun, the yellow planet, is the giver of life. It's the center of our life. And in a country's chart, just as in a personal chart, in your chart, wherever the sun lands, whichever area of life, whichever house the sun falls in as it circles our chart, that's the area of life that lights up and comes alive. And so right now, the sun is in our 7th house of international relationships, war, lawsuits, our open enemies. Everybody has a 7th house. Open enemies. The 12th house is hidden enemies. These are our frenemies, I like to call them. It rules the public. It rules contracts of all sorts. Lawyers. It rules politics. Oh, man. Well, the sun should be sitting here all the time, right? Because politics goes on all the time. But with the sun in the 7th house, and it has been there for a couple of weeks, what we've got going is wonderful, because what we've got going is we can make headway in the political arena. Yay! Okay, this is super. Now, on the, let me make sure I've covered everything. Okay, it rules the lower courts. All right, so it's sitting here in our relationships. This gives President Biden an opportunity to get out there and be with his counterparts, to mend fences with our foreign leader neighbors. Remember, these are our allies we're talking about. All right. On the 22nd, the sun moves into the 8th house, and this is very powerful. Now, you know, in a personal chart, the 8th house deals with, I like to say the old-timey version, sex, death, and goods of the dead. It deals with secrets. In a country's chart, it deals with the treasurer, with our debts, okay? And this can be very helpful. The sun, the giver of life, helps us when it comes to our debts. So there can be hidden arrangements, because the eighth house deals with secrets. I don't care if it's a birth chart for a person or for a country. It deals with secrets. It deals with escrow, taxes, financial losses. Yes, it does deal with death, but it can be a symbolic death in a personal chart. In a mundane chart, it is much more mundane. And of course, it deals with all kinds of secrets. And what this means is, with the sun there, the sun shines a light on secrets. Yes, and it does deal with sexual secrets, and it can be sex trafficking, because a lot of that has been coming up in the news, has been coming up. All right. So I'm going to go into the new moon and the full moon too, because they're very, very interesting. Now, on December 4th, we have a new moon. Whenever we have a new moon, that's where the energy starts growing. And there it is in our seventh house of international affairs. I really feel that this is a time when people can work out their differences, can balance things, because this is the house that Libra rules, the scales, the balances. It deals with the lower courts. And so things that have come to the lower courts can be handled. And the sun brings life to things so that the verdicts may prove light-filled. They can be successful rather than causing rage. And we'll be able to move forward. I certainly do hope so. And the public. Well, the public is being listened to now more and more. I love that. This new moon is when energy starts growing. This new moon is a solar eclipse. Now, whenever we have an eclipse, we feel the effects of an eclipse at least a week to 2 weeks before it occurs. Usually it's at its peak 3 to 4 months after it occurs. And it's with us till the next pair of eclipses come along, which will be in the spring of 2022. However, in this case, what we've got is the one I just described to you. This eclipse is going to pack an influence going right up through the springtime of 2022. And this will help us with our negotiations, or at least it can help us with our negotiations. It can help opposing forces come to an agreement. That is what I would love to see, wouldn't you? It doesn't have to be war. It can be peace, which I think is terrific. And since the seventh house does deal with international affairs, this can extend our reach to our neighbors, other countries. All right. We have a full moon on December 18th or 19th in your personal chart. In the US chart, it's the 18th. Now, this is very interesting. First of all, on a full moon, everything comes to a head. It's in the first house of the United States chart. That house deals with the attitude and political mood of the people. This full moon sits on Mars. And if you will remember back, oh gosh, last November of 2020, I talked about, I think it was in November, I talked about the fact that Mars was on the United States ascendant, and there was an eclipse on the United States ascendant. And I said that when we have an eclipse on our sun, moon, or ascendant, that eclipse lasts at least a year. And since it was on Mars and Uranus, that's war. And this is when we had so many unexpected riots from the people. Okay, this full moon sits on Mars. And so the people will speak. And this eclipse, excuse me, this full moon, I'm sorry, is in 27 of Gemini. Mars is 21 Gemini. I've stretched it a little bit, but Mars rules war, Mars rules anger, Mars rules gunfire. It's a very powerful full moon. Full moons are. Now, this full moon is also quincunx Pluto. And I'm mentioning this, and I'm going to describe what it means in a minute. I'm mentioning this because Pluto comes up in the rest of my report. It's very, very powerful. Okay, Pluto is the planet of total transformation. Out with the old, in with the new. It's in the 9th house of the United States chart. Okay, the 9th house deals with the upper courts, the Supreme Court, foreign travel, foreign neighbors, higher education, religion, even the clergy, advertising, science, as in vaccines, insurance. I mentioned the Supreme Court. It's the philosophical approach of the people, their whole attitude. It deals with world trade, and it deals with universities. This is a very powerful planet, and I'm going to go into it in just a second. Where we all have Pluto in our chart, and wherever Pluto is, we have the opportunity to transform ourselves. In the United States chart, there can be a big change coming up in the Supreme Court, in higher education, in science, foreign travel. We're off in space now. I mean, that's foreign travel, for goodness sake. Yes, it's the beginning of actually going into space, although we've been in space before. We have the International Space Station out there circling. So we have to include that in the mix, and it's going to continue. So this is the first thing I want to talk about. Now, Mercury, that's what we think about and talk about. It is not an action, it's a thought, okay? Mercury is in the 7th house right now, even as I'm doing this recording. And so there's a lot of thinking about and communication with people from other countries, international affairs. We're talking about war a lot more than we did before. Lawsuits, our open enemies, and this means conversations with them. It's very, very important. I know some people live for war. I live for peace and love. Everybody's got their thing. It deals with lawyers and politics, marriage and divorce, different marriages. It deals with the lower courts, and it deals with the public. And so there's more interaction with the public. On the 13th, Mercury enters the 8th house of secrets, of debts, of escrow, of other people's money. In other words, the debts that the United States has, losses, taxes, and above all else, secrets. And so whenever the 8th house is activated, secrets come to light. Now, Mercury is sitting on Pluto, Mercury, the conscious mind. It's like they're talking to each other. Pluto is control. It's transformation. It's out with the old, in with the new. When I was researching COVID a while back, it did show up as part of a contributor, an astrological contributor to COVID, of course. Now, Mercury will be on Pluto, so we're talking to foreign leaders, we're talking to the people, the Supreme justices of the Supreme Court. We're talking about science big time when on the 27th, Mercury moves into the 9th house, and it stays sitting on Pluto through February 22, of course, through February 14th, Valentine's Day of next year, because Mercury moves into the shadow of the retrograde on the 29th, and then it goes retrograde in January. So we've got that to deal with. And so on the 29th, things are a little, mercurial. You know how it gets when we're getting ready for a retrograde Mercury. So it triggers all kind of talk about what might happen if there were a transformation in our philosophy, in our belief systems. It deals with religion, and so there can be religious conversations that go on. And everything that I talked about when I talked about the full moon quincunxing, it is adjusting Pluto, and this is good. In other words, it's not a direct hit. I'm not sure a direct hit is what all we want. Now, you notice that I have the transiting Pluto, that's the orbiting Pluto, the one going round and round, sitting on Pluto. I did a whole video on Pluto, the Pluto return last year. I believe it was in 2020. I've done so many videos, please forgive me, but there's one on file. Pluto on Pluto. Every planet returns to its birthplace, its natal place, in a birth chart. You have a solar return once a year, right around your birthday. We have a lunar return once a month. Mercury has a Mercury return, a Venus return. Every planet that goes retrograde, of course, well, I shouldn't even say goes retrograde. Every planet has a return. The orbit of Pluto is 248 years. Pluto is returning and has been sitting on natal Pluto. It will continue through 2024. Now, what happened 248 years ago in the United States? We were fighting the Civil War. And I'm sure that many of the players now are reincarnations of those people who fought in the Civil War. There's such a separation in our country on every single issue. And Pluto on Pluto is out with the old, in with the new. So let me go over again what the 9th house rules and what Pluto, the planet of total control, it rules plutonium. Yep. Pluto, 9th house. The 9th house rules the Supreme Court, foreign travel, again, space, higher education, advertising, science, insurance. our philosophy of life, our belief system, world trade, and universities, higher education. And so from 2021 through 2024, you can expect upheaval and total change in the belief systems and in everything in our belief systems and everything else that I talked with you about just now. Very powerful. Now, do you notice that Mercury is in opposition to Mercury? And of course, Pluto has been in opposition to Mercury as well in the third house. Well, if the ninth house rules our principles, our concepts, the third house rules communication, correspondence, transportation, news and news reporters, the mail, could use a little help there, public opinion, traffic, books, newspapers, neighborhoods, schools and teachers, and public transportation. It's the thinking of the people. All of that is activated with this Mercury-Pluto thing going on. But wait, I've got more charts. All righty. Venus, the planet of love and beauty. It is the lesser benefic. It is the planet that brings money and love and just all good, the art and beauty. Venus is sitting on Pluto through March 5th. Now, Venus is going to go retrograde on December 19th. When Venus goes retrograde, it feels just like a Mercury retrograde. It's confused. So we're going to have let me see if I can do this. No, I've got to do it this way. Bear with me, please. We've got both Venus and Mercury on Pluto, as well as Pluto on Pluto. So our whole conceptual approach to life is changing. It makes way for higher education, longer distance travel, bigger picture. And it doesn't do that without explosiveness. That's just Pluto. So here's Pluto, Venus rather, hovering around Pluto and opposing Mercury. But Venus is love. Venus blesses what it touches. So this is a good thing. With Venus, with love as part of the motivation, part of our principles, we've got some beautiful ideas that will be placed on the table, so to speak. This gives us hope. This says where love rules, there can be compromise, there can be change. Pluto doesn't want to compromise. Pluto wants it one way or the other. And Venus says, now, Pluto, let's kind of chill. So every year, of course, Venus is going to come back around and sit on Pluto. And so does Mercury every year. Just so happens they're doing it at the same time right now. So communication and love. And I think President Biden and his people will be responsible for the communication with our neighbors, obviously, because, it starts at the top. Okay, the final message I want to share with you is Mars. Now, I talked earlier about Mars. being in the first house of the United States chart, and Uranus, the rebel, right here on the Gemini ascendant. We are a country of rebels, and when we rebelled, we did it in a big way. So Mars is sitting, Mars, planet of action and energy and war and fighting and translate that, in the seventh house of international affairs. War, lawsuits, the public, our open enemies, politics. Oh yeah. Now Mars is in the sixth house right now, but let me finish the seventh. I have some more things here. Marriage and divorce and the lower courts. All right. Mars is in the sixth house of the military, of our health. Mars is inflammation. And so how many variants are we going to have? Our jobs, all civil servants, in other words, our pets, our food, and the seventh house is food prices. Some of you have already been feeling this. Animals, and of course the police and fire department. But these are workers and jobs and health. And Mars doesn't just sit around twiddle its thumbs. Mars says, I want to get busy now. I want what I want when I want it. And it does. And so it is in Scorpio. It's been in Scorpio in the sixth house, and it rules Scorpio, and it's a very powerful placement because it wants intense change and the feelings on the part of workers. Sixth house, intense. On the 23rd and 24th, it moves into the seventh house. Let me just look here at something. Okay. And that's when it is outright fighting, just locking of horns. It is in opposition to Uranus and the ascendant. Now, the first house deals with the political attitude and mood of the country and public health. And this Uranus is the rebel. And opposition can be your friend. Many of you who study astrology know that. Oppositions pull back from things. It separates, they separate from things, from the mood of the people. And this may very well be because we have larger fish to fry, bigger fish to fry. I don't know what the expression is, larger, bigger, but we got other things to deal with. So, and I didn't put marriage and divorce here in the seventh house, but I think that comes up because of so many people's sexual persuasion and the desire for equal rights, which of course is guaranteed every citizen. So that is the forecast for December 2021. As the months go by, and they will go by very quickly, I'm sure you've noticed, time is just dashing along. There will be other aspects that I'll be sharing with you that Pluto aspect is Pluto, 248 years for a cycle. It's not once in a lifetime. It's if you live long enough to see a Pluto return, it is once in a lifetime. But I don't know anybody who was born 248 years ago. So it's a major turning point for our country. And as a result, of course, our world. And it will be, Pluto will make its final touch, tapping in, conjunction in astrological terms. I'm trying to include everybody. In 2024, and then it will move forward. And when it does, it will sit on the midheaven of our United States chart. And that will go from changing our international relationships, our philosophy, our principles, into big change in the eyes of the world, and possibly the entire public image. Well, it will be the public image of the United States and the presidency. So stay in touch, and I will be in touch. So till we meet again next month, this is Maxine Taylor saying, may the stars shine brightly on you and yours. And God bless the United States of America. And God bless your country, wherever you live. Bye for now. Peace and love.